Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria and today we're going to talk about the full moon happening in the sign of Scorpio. That's the moon in the sign of Scorpio and that's the sun in Taurus. This is a full moon. Now this one's at 4 degrees of Scorpio. You can see 4 degrees of Scorpio. Now full moons are a point in astrology where things release, where things complete, where things culminate. They can also be a point of letting go and endings. So generally speaking, that's what a full moon is. Now this one's in the sign of Scorpio. So Scorpio themes will be highlighted, right? Scorpio is the sign of transformation. It's about things revealing themselves. It's a very deep, intense, introspective sort of energy. It's about uncovering truths. So a lot of that can happen on this full moon, right? This can bring changes, this can bring transformation, this can bring things being revealed, things coming to the surface. This can be a very deep, intense, introspective energy that makes us very emotional as well, right? Scorpio is a water sign, so emotions can run really high on this full moon since it's Scorpio and because of the aspects that this moon is making that we will talk about in just a moment. So for your personal charts, look for the sign of Scorpio, look for 4 degrees of Scorpio, and that's the house where this energy will be impacting you, where this energy will be influencing your life, right? For example, if Scorpio is your second house, this moon is in your second house, then it's to do with financial matters, possessions, assets, that sort of thing. So if you know your charts, otherwise it's okay. The general reading will give you a basic idea of what to expect as well. So moving on, I just want to discuss the aspects and then we will talk about all the things that are going on right now to kind of make sense of the moon energy. So this full moon is making an extremely important aspect and it is squaring Pluto, right? That's Pluto, 2 degrees of Aquarius, and the moon is in Scorpio and the sun in Taurus. Now by the time we reach this moon point, both the sun and the moon would have squared Pluto exact, but this is still close, right? So this will influence the energy this moon is bringing for us. And moon energy can last a little while, right? So what is that energy? Let's talk about that. Pluto here is the ruler of Scorpio, where we have this moon, and it is squaring this moon, making a 90-degree angle, which is considered challenging in astrology. It's challenging because it requires us to change. It requires us to get out of our comfort zone, right? So what is this asking of us? What is this demanding, this aspect? This aspect, this square to Pluto is demanding us to step up to the change, right? And it may not feel the best. So that energy of Scorpio, which is about transformation, which is about introspection, which is intense, is even more magnified with this square to the ruler of Scorpio. So to sum it up, expecting change, expecting to get out of our comfort zone a little, for that change might be necessary for all of us. And it's for any change, right? We do need to do things differently. We do need to adjust. We do need to make changes for the change to happen. And even sometimes once the change has happened, to incorporate that change in our lives, right? So this is that energy asking us to introspect, to work on ourselves, to go within even more, to do these things, and it's got a lot to do with our inner being. Scorpio can be our inner world, right? It can be a lot about what goes on beneath the surface. So we might need to change a lot about how we deal with things emotionally to deal with this change. But nonetheless, This signifies immense amounts of change. And speaking of change, this is not new, right? We've been working on changes, we've been beginning things, we've been closing out past chapters. That work has been going on for a long time. Especially since the beginning of the year, we've been supercharging that change. But that's been with us for a few years now, right? Because since 2020, we've had major transits, we've had major energies bringing in new beginnings, but also closing off old things. So we're at that point where we are still ending things, still beginning things, and this one's about change as well, helping us get closer and closer to the new, to the change. And I say that because of many reasons. One of those reasons is the fact that Pluto is in Aquarius. It has been since Jan of this year. It entered Aquarius last year for a brief while. It will go back into Capricorn for a couple of months towards the end of the year, right? September to November. But now it's majority of its time it's going to be in Aquarius, and Pluto is slow moving. After 16 years, it changed signs. So what that means is, because this slow moving planet has changed signs after so many years, there's a shift in any case. Beginning of the year, there's a shift. And with the other aspects as well, with the other transits as well, change is what is very prominent right now. And change is about endings and beginnings. So the square to Pluto is all about change again. Right now, I'm going to move on to the next few things that I want to discuss. And the first thing that I want to talk about is the fact that we just had another very important transit. That's Jupiter and that's Uranus, right? They just met up 2-3 days before this moon, right? They just met up, and they meet quite rarely. They meet once in about 14 years. So it's not a very common energy to feel. It's not a very common energy to go through once in 14 years. And in Taurus, they've met up after many years. And what is this, right? Uranus is again about change. Uranus rules the sign of Aquarius, where we have Pluto now. And Jupiter here is about lessons. It's about magnifying things, expanding things. And Uranus is change, right? So this is change again. This is change that is magnified. And we've just begun that cycle. Right, when we have a conjunction, the cycle begins. Now we've begun another 14-year cycle before Uranus and Jupiter meet up again. So this is another beginning. So that's what I wanted to talk about. But this energy can feel overwhelming as well. Right, it can feel overwhelming because Uranus does things unexpectedly. It does things out of the ordinary. It does things out of the blue. And Uranus energy is a lot of energy at once. So we can feel overwhelmed with change. We can feel like there's a lot to do, a lot of energy, and I'm not quite sure how to deal with this. So this is another beginning point of the change, and we'll see it over the course of the next few weeks, months, years. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is that Mercury here is retrograde, but the good news is that it will go direct on 26th April. So soon after this moon, Mercury will go direct. And when Mercury is retrograde, as it has been since the beginning of the month, there can be a slowdown in Mercury related things, right? Communication, marketing, tech. And during Mercury retrograde, technical issues, all these kind of issues with gadgets, that can really happen. And Mercury retrograde is also a time of introspection. It's a time of reflection actually on things we've already done before the retrograde, things that we need to make better, things we need to work on. So it's about revisiting things that we might have done before, making those things better, adjusting those things so that when Mercury moves direct, as it will in a few days, those things are now better. Those things are now set in place. But overall, this could have felt like things are a bit slow, right? Because since the beginning of the year, with all planets direct, it's been fast energy. It's like things are happening fast. Changes are happening fast. But with Mercury retrograde, since the beginning of the year, we could have really felt like, okay, Now I see the pace dip a little bit. Now I see I need to rework things that I've already worked on before, right? I've done this thing, I have decided about this thing, but somehow it's coming up again, and somehow I need to redo this thing. So that's the energy of Mercury retrograde, and it's with the North Node. This right here at 15 degrees of Aries is the North Node, also known as Rahu. And Rahu is again a magnifier, right? A lot like Jupiter. It's about the future, yes. It's about where we are headed, yes, but it's a magnifier. And it's not just magnifying the energy of Aries, it's also magnifying Mercury right now, which is retrograde. So we can really feel this Mercury retrograde around this time, right? Mercury retrograde is about reflection, so we can have new ideas about old things, but at the same time, this can magnify this feeling of maybe feeling stressed out, maybe feeling anxious, maybe feeling worried about things. And it's in the sign of Aries, right? Aries energy is very impulsive. It's very aggressive as well. And Rahu, the North Node, has been magnifying that for the past few months since it entered this sign. But we have a lot of Aries right now. So that energy of impulsive, being aggressive, not thinking things through is with us right now. We have so much in Aries, right? Look at the amount of energy we have. The North Node is there. Mercury retrograded here. Chiron is there. Venus is there. A lot of impulsive energy. So what we need to watch out for is just that, right? We don't want to be aggressive. We don't want to be impulsive. We don't want to decide things impulsively. It's better to slow things down. It's better to take it a little easy with so much Aries. And just so that I just want to mention one more thing, that if you look at the chart right now, Venus just met up with Chiron, right? It just met up with Chiron and now it's moving on from Chiron. And this could have felt a bit challenging as well as we build up to this moon, right? So 2-3 days before this moon with Venus conjuncting Chiron, we could have felt we are being triggered, we are feeling our wounds, we are feeling our pain in matters connected to Venus, right? Relationships, finances, our own self-worth. We can feel like we're not good enough. We can feel like this relationship is making me feel something, or this relationship is triggering my sensitivities, right? Or it can feel like something financial that is making you feel less, making you feel like, why does this happen to me? Or things never work out for me, that sort of thing. So just be mindful of that. On the positive, Venus has moved on, so that energy is also on the decline. Now, few more things that I want to mention, right? Mars here is getting ready to meet up with Neptune. It will meet up with Neptune early next week, and Mars is the ruler of Aries, where we have this abundance of energy right now, which is asking us to initiate, which is bringing new beginnings, which is asking us to start, but which is also impulsive and aggressive. And Mars is going to meet up with Neptune. Neptune is slow. Neptune is, in a way, very different from Mars, right? When Mars says, let's just do it, right? Let's take action. Neptune is not about that. Neptune is about going within. It's about feeling. It's about intuition. It's about your gut. It's about spirituality. It's about things like writing and music, which actually really require to be in touch with yourself, right? Which really require you to shut out the world, go within and see what's coming out from that place of writing or music, right? It's about creation in a way. So when Mars is about to meet up with Neptune, this can emphasize the need to slow things down a bit, right? Feel what we feel intuitively and then take action rather than just go for it. Because Aries wants to go for it, Mars wants to go for it, but Neptune is saying, do it with your gut, see if it feels right for you, then do it. And with Mercury retrograde, that's a good thing, right? Because we don't want to start something new impulsively during Mercury retrograde, especially if it's related to writing and communication and marketing, tech, that sort of thing. And what this can also bring, as Mars builds up its conjunction to Neptune is a bit of confusion. Should I do this? Should I do that? I want to take action right now, but I'm a bit confused, right? I'm a bit confused about this way or that way, or I'm not able to get clarity on this, right? There's something pending, but I'm not able to get that full information. Even if I have the information, I'm not able to kind of make sense of it fully. I'm not able to understand it fully or decide with the information present at this point. But again, good news is Mars will meet up with Neptune early next week, and then this energy will be done with. Then it will enter the sign of Aries, which it rules, right? Then it will enter the sign of Aries, and that's a lot of Aries. And Mercury will be direct at that time. So that's again when things will start to pick up, because planets will be direct. But May 1st, Pluto will retrograde, right? And slowly as the year goes on, the other planets will also start to retrograde. And what does this mean, right? Pluto is an outer planet. So it's going to be, it's usually retrograde many months in a year. And I don't want to say we don't feel it, we do. But when Mercury or Venus or Mars, those three go retrograde, we really, really feel it. So Mercury is going direct. Pluto will go retrograde a little after that. And we have this 2-3 days of all planets direct again, and that's where things can really speed up before they slow down a tad bit. They will slow down when Pluto goes retrograde beginning of May, but not as much as say beginning of April into now, because it's not a personal planet that's going retrograde. So with Mercury direct, with Mars moving on from its conjunction to Neptune early next week and then entering the sign of Aries, there will be a lot of energy supporting action, but action that can be impulsive. So here again, take action, but take action after thinking things through, not impulsively, not as a reaction, right? Not as a knee jerk, oh, this happened and now this is happening. No, it's more about, okay, this is happening. And you may be really wanting to react, right? Especially when Mars moves into Aries early next week and Mercury is direct. But slow it down, think it through, think of the long run, and then take action. So that's something else I wanted to talk about. Okay. And let me just see if there's something else that I'd like to cover. Yeah. So another thing that I do want to mention before we kind of close it out is that the last moon was an eclipse. We had a potent new moon solar eclipse in the sign of Aries on April 8th, right? And that was conjunct Chiron. So it was a beginning, it was an intense beginning point, but it may not have felt the best because Chiron was there, and Chiron brings wounds, it brings us to self-work, it brings us to face our pain and our wounds, it can trigger us. So it was a beginning point, but it was not the best feeling in the world, and we are still in that lunar cycle, right? So this beginning, that's still there with us. We must recognize it, we must work on it, we must act on it, but slowly. At the same time, a lot from the past might have come back for us to review, rework, and say, okay, I did it back then before like this. Maybe I can change it now, or I'm okay with what it was before with Mercury retrograde. Coming back to this full moon is in Scorpio, right? The sun is in Taurus, and with the square to Pluto, this is about change. This is about introspection. This is about really feeling our feelings and dealing with them and changing. So that's all that's happening in the astrology. Not all, but in this short video, those are the highlights of what's happening in the astrology. And I hope this video was useful. So that's that. And let's just talk about one more thing. If you look at the chart, I just want to emphasize this: Aries, Taurus, Pisces. That's where the energies are at, right? this part of the chart is pretty empty. And when energies are so concentrated, it means certain aspects of our lives are more highlighted than others. This kind of energy can also mean things are not balanced, right? Because it's all concentrated in 2-3 signs. So a lot of maybe 2-3 areas of our lives are, coming under a lot of focus, rather than a more balanced view of, okay, a little bit of this, little bit of that. So that's something I just wanted to mention. And we have Saturn in Pisces, Neptune is in Pisces. So the next couple of years is also about ending the past in a big way. We have been doing that since 2020, beginnings and endings. But with Saturn in Pisces, still a lot of focus on endings before it moves into Aries, where it does not like to be, but still it's about beginnings when it enters Aries. So we have been in transformative times. It continues to be that way. And this Jupiter-Uranus transit, again, more beginnings, more change. Pluto in Aquarius, change, beginnings. So it feels like new things are happening, but they're not fully here because they're not fully here. It also feels like old things are ending, but they're still lingering on, and that's because they are. So we are in that point, we are in that transition, we are in that zone where the new is not fully here, but the old is not fully, and the old is not fully gone. But it's moving towards the new, and the past is also slowly fading away. So I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a great day, and bye.